Hi, this is Gloria Broming with Transition Laguna, and we're actually partnering this year with Slow Food back here. Larry, right there, there's our snail. And we're headed out to the San Diego Farm Tour today. And if you haven't ever been on it, let me tell you, you better get your bags packed and head out, because this is something you don't want to miss. We're going to be touring 5 different farms in Ramona, a chicken ranch, an organic farm with various different vegetables. We're going to a winery. We're going to also go to a cactus and succulent farm. And I forget, there's one other one in there.
Another organic farm.
Another organic farm? Yeah. And then we're going to have a great picnic in the middle. And then this year, we're actually going to camp overnight at Julian. So we're just going to continue the fun, and you want to make sure you get on this trip next year. So we'll see you there. Bye.
So here, where you saw on our building over there, we usually do about 1,000 birds at a time in that building. This one here holds about 13,000. So each of these brooders that drop down, similar to that one, they act as like a mother. It'll keep the babies warm. About 1,000 fit in here at a time because they're so tiny when we first get them, like just a little fur ball. And then these guys right here, they're feeders. They drop down onto the ground so that all the little chicks can come up and eat. These here will lower them down as well, and they work as like little nipples or whatever, like so that things can, they get water from here usually. Also, you see all these water things up along the edge. We'll also put those on the ground for the ones that can't figure out how to use it, just so we're making sure and like avoiding as many deaths as we can. And so all the little birds will get nice water and food and enjoy life. They'll stay here for about 8 weeks, and then they'll move on to whatever building they're going to go into. Delivered about once a week, about 3 to 4 tons per thing. So we start them out over here. This is what all of our little chicks would have been eating at, like a day old would have been in this first one right here. And it's like a starter feed. Then we have like a grower feed, and then a developer feed, and then a laying feed. So just kind of all throughout their stages of life, we kind of just transition them through.
How long do they live?
This is for the pasture. This is just for the pasture ones.
How long do they last? How long do they live, chickens?
They live, we usually keep them for about 2 years, 2 to 2.5 years. And then after that, people will usually come buy our birds. I don't know if they like eat them. I know some people continue to keep them as laying hens. They just don't keep up production for us. So it doesn't work well. So we just kind of let them go on to live better lives someplace else. Yeah.
Some plain.
Some plain, they do something. Sometimes they can eat. Laguna, and we're here on the San Diego Farm Tour this year, 2014, and we're at the Connelly Farm. It's an organic vegetable farm here in Ramona, and we had just recently saw the an egg ranch with pasteurized eggs prior to this stop, and I want to make sure that everybody knows the difference between pasteurized, caged, and free range. The caged, forget it. You're not doing it, don't buy it. Don't eat eggs. The free range, this is what they're doing. They're in a house, they can go outside and walk around a little bit, but they're packed in there. They're not caged together like 4 in a pack, which is horrible, but still they're not really out there having fun and grazing naturally, and they're sort of packed in tight. The pasture raised chickens are out there in their little chicken house, and they're out roaming around, and they're free eating whatever, bugs and grass. And they actually had a llama that was their guard llama. It was super cute. So pay that extra money and make sure you're getting pasture raised chickens, because those eggs are healthier and more nutritious for you. So that's one of the things we've learned this year at the San Diego Farm Tour. So after we tour this farm, I'll let you know what we learned, and we'll see you later.
Yeah. Are you familiar with Slow Food, Arc of Taste?
Not Arca Taste is doing is trying to save heirloom type fruits and vegetables and endangered and promote, you know, its usage. So this sounds like an old product. Does this have any history in this local area?
This one doesn't have in the local area. In the back, actually, the one I do have that's kind of unusual, my first year with, is an Escondido melon, which really was bred in Escondido in the 1930s. And it produces a cassava type melon that is between 15 and 22 pounds, so a very large cassava type. Wow. The first few lines in front of you here are cherry type tomatoes. This one here is Sun Gold. That's the sweetest of all the tomatoes.
Yeah, we love the Sun Gold.
We love them. Growing Laguna Beach.
And then you're into the regular heirlooms here. This one is Prudence Purple. It's a Brandywine type, a potato leaf variety, so a big rounded leaf as opposed to this kind of leaf. And you look at how green these plants are. You look at look around how much neighborhood there is. There's nothing succulent around here, right? So if there was a bug within 20 miles, you'd think that I'd be the guy. And I'm telling you, you can walk through here and not find a hornworm. And you can also go through here and not see any nutrient deficiency. I do not inject after I plant. I mean, I will inject, but what I inject are biologicals. I don't inject fertilizer after I plant. So this is a plant that was sown on February 5th, transplanted on March 14th. And at this point, coming into and having some severe days in between there, showing no deficiency issues. And so you're asking about cover cropping. So this is our cover crop, is our beans. We inoculate the bean seed when we plant it with a bacteria. That bacteria will infect the plant, and through the symbiotic relationship create these nodules of nitrogen on the roots. So that there is a nodule of nitrogen, and they are it's throughout this root mass here. These are all nodules of nitrogen.
And what did you inoculate it with?
It's a bacteria. So that's the little nodule of nitrogen there. And if you break them open, they're slightly red in the inside, and they have basically a hemoglobin inside. So it's a living organism. So once I mow this down, I've affixed hundreds of pounds of nitrogen per acre, and it used the nitrogen that's not salt, because all fertilizer is salt, and all salt at some point is toxic to plants. So you have food without salt.
Hi, this is Gloria Broming with Transition Laguna and with Farm to Fork Garden Design. And we're out on the San Diego Farm Tour 2014. This is our 3rd annual trip, and we're here at the Hatfield Creek Winery. And we just left the Connelly Gardens Organic Farm. And let me tell you that we're in Ramona, and Tim is the owner, Tim Connelly. It's an amazing organic farm. You really got to go check this place out. They sell their produce on the weekend. And this guy, I think, is really the first farmer that I've seen in person that really knows that it's all about the soil. So you really want to focus on the soil. If you want a healthy, vibrant farm and you're growing food, you got to focus down on what's under your feet. So this guy is walking the walk, and you really got to check it out. He understands the whole bacteria and the fungi and everything involved about really making a healthy, lively soil that's going to give you great nutrition and flavor in your produce that you grow on your farm. And one of the couple tips that I took away was, one is a lot of times people are like, hey, my tomato leaves are curling up. What does that mean? Well, what I learned today is when the leaves curl up towards the sky, that actually means there's a lot of water. So they could be overwatered. And on his tomato plants, some at the bottom of the tomato plants, the leaves were curling up, and that's why I inquired about it. But at the top, the leaves were fine, and he's saying that when the roots are taking in that water, obviously the first set of leaves are the one that are going to get the most, sort of based on gravity, the most water. It comes up through there, so they were curled up, but at the top the leaves were fine. So if your leaves are curled at the bottom of your tomato plants at the bottom, just relax. But once you start seeing that towards the top of the leaves, then you want to start to worry, maybe pull back on some of the water. The other thing we learned is that, you know, when it's like in Laguna, we've got 70-degree days, it's overcast, and so we get sort of on a watering system, maybe once every, you know, 3 or 4 days, and then you know you're gonna get a heat blast. Make sure that your plants are thoroughly watered before it gets hot, because if you water those tomato plants when they have fruit set that's growing, and then you get a 85-degree day and you're like, oh my gosh, it's wilted, and you go out and water it, that's when your tomatoes are gonna split. So because the skin of the tomatoes don't have time to expand when they take up that water. So make sure you water thoroughly before that heat wave comes on. So that was a really good takeaway. But I really recommend that you go out and see Tim Connelly at the Connelly Gardens, and he sells his produce on the weekends, and he specializes in some really unique winter squash and summer squashes. So after we take a tour of the winery, we'll get back to you. See you later.
They bought it and had the house next to the tasting room, and they just put all this in. They had a vision that they wanted to have a destination resort kind of area, and so it's kind of a teaching vineyard. You know, you can come out and do real hands-on stuff on a small enough scale, and eventually we'll have some yurts built over there, and so you can come out for the weekend. It's like glam camping.
Roundhouse?
Yeah.
Made out of felt.
So right now the tasting room is temporary. That's like our great room. When we have the yurts, people can gather in there. And we still have another building to build, and that will be our final tasting room.
Oh, wow.
Hi, this is Gloria Broming with Transition Laguna and Farm to Fork Garden Design, and we're here back at the Hatfield Creek Vineyards in Ramona. And I don't know if any of you are aware, but there's some great vineyards out here in Ramona, this being one of them, and you want to make sure the next time you're out, maybe going to Julian or somewhere in the Ramona Valley, make sure you come by and stop by the Hatfield Vineyards. It's a new vineyard, and actually they're going to be releasing their first release, 2012, I think next week. So this is June 2014. So come on down, make sure you support some of your local vineyards. And as a matter of fact, I've got Diana Miranda here. Come on over here, Diana Miranda. This is a good friend of mine who we took a soil fertility class down at San Diego City College, and she's going to be a vintner. So you keep your eyes on this young lady, because you're going to be seeing her wines one day real soon. Thanks.
It's mostly the indeterminate varieties, mostly early girls, with some ox hearts and some heirlooms, and then some determinate varieties in the middle with yellow taxi and bobcats, they're called. So they're a short variety, and they grow a big, like a beefsteak type tomato. But we mainly grow the early girls because they produce all season, and they are heat tolerant, except for this heat. They're not at they're not at themselves lately. So we're giving them more water, and hopefully they'll be producing a little better.
This is quinoa right here, Brian? This is quinoa?
No, that's a weed actually.
Really?
Yeah.
It looks like amaranth.
I know it does. I'm not sure what it's called.
It looks like a.
Yes.
It looks like quinoa.
Yeah, it does.
Maybe it is. What's your?
Hi, this is Gloria Broming with Transition Laguna, and we're at our final stop today on the San Diego Farm Tour. This is the Page Organic Farm here in Ramona, and they've got a really diverse selection of various different crops they're growing, from okra to peppers, zucchini, tomatoes, winter squash, blueberries, garlic, and onions, and all organically grown. It's been a really terrific farm to go through. Tom and Mary Page are the owners of this farm, and here we've got some wildflowers, we've got kale, tomatillos, and beets as well. And it just really kind of capped off such a wonderful day, learning all the different applications of organic farming. and we've learned a lot, and we're really excited to go back home and really implement some of these tools as far as you know, growing crops and caring for our soil and our health with nutritious, wonderful homegrown food. So keep your eyes tuned so that you can learn some of these practices. You'll be seeing them at some of our Transition Laguna meetings and hearing more about that, so you too can implement some of these techniques at home. So farm on!
Driving down on this Hussey road with my top down on my Cadillac. Don't know where I'm going to, but I know it's better